Welcome to Breaking Par with Bernard Sheridan, the golf instruction podcast that helps you take control of your game. Now, here's your host, the founder of Par Breakers Golf Academy and certified Golf Channel Swing Fix instructor, Bernard Sheridan.
So that's how we define it. And then there's no one perfect set of movements for you or for anyone else. There's some optimal ranges. And even with the tour professionals, there's some variability amongst them, and even swing to swing, there's variability. So what I'm looking for with a middle-aged woman who comes for a lesson is to compare her with what we might expect from someone who was a very good golfer or good ball striker in her age group. And then that we would track the progress of her compared to where she started. So then it becomes, are you making progress along this continuum of improvement? And if you aren't, if there's some plateaus there, or you go back a little bit, what things do we need to change then in order for you to make these make continued improvements over time? And I suppose improvement is a bit like the stock market. Over time, yes, it goes up, but you have your little fluctuations, maybe some plateaus in performance, things like that. So you've got to be careful about how you compare at one point in time to another. But overall, you should, as long as everyone's committed to the improvement process, see change over time in a positive light.
So essentially, too, what we're trying to do here is ingrain a motor skill or build new muscle memory through the 3D technology, using that to gather the information and then use that information to help the student improve through audio feedback and using the unit itself to get the most out of what they have at this time.
Yes, and then it would be used also to guide their physical training if they were into that part of the equation as well, because I can determine quite a number of general characteristics physically just by measuring someone's swing. So in terms of their stability, their single leg balance, their flexibility, their movement control, their speed, their power, things like that give you insight into their physical status. And then you might be able to hook them up with a trainer or provide them with some baseline exercises that they could do that would facilitate the movement patterns that you're trying to have them adhere to.
So the majority of players that you're working with, because of your expertise, because you're at a very high level of expertise here in this field. So do you find that because of that, and because that you're of your location too, that you're seeing a lot of higher level type players who are trying to fix minor little things in their swings, or are you seeing more of just the average, mid-handicapper who's just trying to get better?
I see the spectrum. So mostly I would work with better players. That would be typical. I tend not to work with too many tour players. I have a different view to a lot of people in that by the time a tour player at 25 to 30 has been out on a major tour, then the development work should have been done prior to that. And so I use the technology for tour players more to monitor what they're doing rather than to think about changing it. And then if we can get them at a time when they're really striking the ball well or playing excellent golf, then I can use that as their gold standard. And so if they move away from that, I would want to bring them back rather than, oh, we need to build a new swing, because they have a lot of time invested in learning a particular movement pattern. And there's pretty good evidence to indicate that at that time in their lives when they're trying to compete with the best players in the world, that changing their technique is more likely to be unsuccessful than it is to be successful. There are a few exceptions, of course, and it depends on how hard people work and what they're prepared to give up in order to make some changes. But I would be much more thinking along the lines of, what did you do when you were at your best? And let's return you to that, because that's going to be comfortable ground for you. And I think, in fairness to Chris Como, that's the sort of thing that he's trying to do with Tiger at the moment. Let's get back to some of the elements that you did for many, many years when you were not just the most successful golfer in the world, but the most dominant player, perhaps of any era, going through his amateur and then early professional years. So let's get you back to doing some of those things and hope that we can overwrite some of those little things that you've worked on with other people during the intervening years. And I really hope that Chris does a great job with Tiger, and that he can get him back to playing his best possible golf.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Chris is a great guy, and would love to see his Tiger come back. I think that it would be great for the game itself. It always seems that when Tiger is in contention, there's a lot more interest in golf overall across the board, which to me helps all of us who are in this sport and who use this sport as a profession.
Hmm.
Also, it also helps just overall conditions of golf courses and things like that too, because the fact that if there's more play going on, then there's more money to be spread around to make golf better. So it just kind of trickle down effect from when he's doing well. Of course, we'd like to see all those guys do well out there, but it's just something about when Tiger's in contention, it really makes a huge difference.
Yes, well, the media certainly have got right behind him over the years, and he's become the icon of golf, I suppose, just like Arnold and Jack were in their times, respectively. But the catch of the media is much broader these days than it was even in the days of those two great players.
Absolutely, and since Chris Como is working with Tiger now, and that's a little bit more in the spotlight, putting a spotlight more on biodynamics and biomechanics. Do you feel that you're starting to feel a little surge more with what you do in that respect, as opposed to, let's say, before Chris came on the scene in the public eye?
I think it can only help anyone who's working in the 3D technology market just to have a greater awareness of biomechanics, that it's not something to be frightened of, that there are ways in which this technology can help you, as long as you are working with people who understand its limitations as well as its strengths, and then how to use it for your benefit, not just for their benefit, then I think it's really good. Any sort of awareness is beneficial. Just like when Tiger introduced fitness training for golf. I mean, there've been lots of people, including me, who I would say almost 40 years ago now talked about training for golf, but that was hoo-ha, because no, you didn't train for golf. And then Tiger changed the whole face of that industry. And Greg Rose has been instrumental in promoting that, and has done an awesome job with Dave Phillips in developing the TPI. And then Golf Biodynamics and has really tried to link the technical, the physical, and the training aspect of golf to assist the golf coaches in obtaining a better and more successful and faster outcome for their clients.
Now, when you're doing this biomechanical testing, are you doing that sometimes on all different parts of the game? So, in other words, let's say sequencing and putting, or sequencing and chipping, or middle of the road type shots, or is it always just full swing?
I'm glad you asked that question, Bernard, because one of the things that I've always tried to do is keep right at the forefront of golf biomechanics. So I've developed software for analyzing pitching technique. So layup, wedges, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 yard type shots. I'm currently doing some work on bunker play and chipping, and I developed a module specifically for putting that really extended what the Sam Putt Lab did in terms of measuring what the putter did in 3D, or does in 3D, so that now we add the body as well, because as you would know, putting a putter down there doesn't make it move. It's the person who's applying the forces to it that determines how that putter moves. So I thought it's just a natural and important extension to know what the player is doing in order to create certain putting mechanics. And so that continual push to use the technology in all parts of the game and help coaches and players obtain the right information is critical to the success, not just of the technology, but of the coaching and player input.
Now, do you integrate ground force or any type of measurement of ground force in this 3D also?
I haven't done it yet. I started a couple of years ago building, with the help of the sports engineering group in the University of South Australia, our own force plates, and then that kind of got put on the back burner because I wanted to produce a technology that was affordable. I still think that right now swing catalyst is the best option in the market. It actually measures the force and the pressure. It measures the overall ground reaction force, not under each foot. But what I'm really keen to do once I've got a few other things off my plate is to revisit this force plate technology, because I think that not just the pressure is important, but actually what the loads under each foot are, both the horizontal and anterior posterior shearing forces, as well as the vertical force, the free moment, so that we can really then link the movement that's visible on 3D to what happened in the interaction between the feet and the ground. And again, as you'd be aware, if we didn't have the ground, the golf swing would look very different. But it's a passive object as well, so it's the forces that the ground applies to our body are dictated by what we do to the ground. So the way our muscles work, the joint extensions and so forth, are what cause our body segments to push on the ground, and then it pushes back and movement ensues. So I'm keen to develop the technology. I don't have anything integrated at the moment, so in the one platform. So not at the moment, for example, you can have your TrackMan set up, and my software will read the TrackMan data in, and so you only have to look at one screen. You don't have to look at the TrackMan application that just reads the data. I would like to, at some point, perhaps do something with FlightScope in a similar way, so that anyone who owns a FlightScope might be able to integrate with our software. And if I get sufficient time over the next 12 months, I'd like to build my own force plates that would allow us to measure the individual loads under the right and left feet, and then have that integrated within our software as well, so it was all synchronized and time-stamped.
Yeah, it's all extremely interesting stuff to me. I just think that being able to get more information, I feel like as an instructor, there's never enough information that you can gather. And with things like this, it really, by far and away, gives you more information than you could ever get from video. It's not even a contest. And then also, as you said, being able to use that as feedback for the student to be able to integrate and learn better, and more efficiently understand what they're doing through feel. Because it's true, feel is so important in this game. Without it, it's the game is nothing. It's definitely when you're out there playing, that's what it's about. It's all about feel. It's not about, oh, I need to hit this position, or I need to be here at impact, or anything like that. Because that totally is like, forget it. The brain doesn't work that way. And
No, it doesn't. And I try whenever I think it's appropriate to provide as little numerical feedback to players when they're working as possible, so that you don't confuse them with graphs or numbers. Now, some people get right into that, and they have a good feel for that, and you can have them look at that and go, is this the same as that? No, it's not, blah, blah, blah. And then this one's different, yes. They can visually recognize that and then associate the movement with the correct trace on the graph, or the correct number. But it's not just about hitting the numbers. It's about creating the right feel and the overall movement pattern that will make things correct for that person.
Well, it was an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I really thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know that you've been running around a lot over the holidays, and now that the holidays are over, you'll be settling probably back into your home there in Florida. And so just before we go, there's a few things that I would like to talk to you about as to how our audience out there in what we call Par Nation can get in touch with you if they would like to come down and do a session with you in Florida, or if anyone is in the Florida area and just wants to make an appointment and see you. How can they go about doing that, and what is the best ways for them to get in touch with you?
The very best way is to contact me on email, and I think you have the email, Bernard, but just to remind you, it's r.Neal, Neal, at golfbiodynamics.com. And if they send that to me, then I might not respond within a few hours, but I'll definitely get back to them if they wanted to do a session with me. And if they're not in the local area or aren't coming to Miami, and I have someone who has one of our systems, then I'd certainly put them in touch with those people.
How many systems are in the States right now?
I have 2, 3, 4, 5, about half a dozen only, and all of them on the East Coast. But with AMM having closed its doors about a month and a half ago, I made an offer to anyone who has an AMM system that they can access our software, 6-month trial for free. Well, until June this year, they can access the software free of charge, and after that, then they would have to buy a license. And I hope that there are some people who take up that offer and decide that this software really is very user-friendly, and that way we would be able to provide the service to many more people than just the ones who are currently in our network.
That's great. So thanks so much for your absolutely incredible insight in the world of 3D technology in golf. And wish you all the greatest success moving forward from here and integrating with other systems. And hopefully that'll happen in the future. And as we say here at Breaking Par, try to keep it in the short grass until we meet again.
Thanks very much, Bernard. It's been my pleasure.
Great, thanks. We'll see you later.
Yep. Bye.
Alrighty, bye-bye.